Whether it's the kitchen window that sits in the sun for the hottest part of the day or you just got new wheels, call Sharp Window Tinting in Burleson. 817-615-9379 or look them up on the web, sharpwindowtint.com.
Hey, travelers, do you want to save money on your next flight? Then pick up the phone and call. That's right, call, because the best prices are not online. They're with SmartFares. See, SmartFares has special deals with the airlines. When they have unsold seats, they use SmartFares to fill them. So you get airline tickets at ridiculously low prices. Our prices are too low to publish online. With the extra money you'll save, you can book another trip or treat yourself to dinner or shopping. So stop searching all of those travel sites to find the lowest price on your next flight. Let one of our SmartFares expert travel agents find ridiculously low prices for you. Call SmartFares today and get the best price on your next flight. Guaranteed. Also, save up to 50% off business and first class tickets.
855-325-1820. 855-325-1820. That's 855-325-1820.
Fast Track Student Loans can get your student loans out of default, stop any wage garnishments, stop collection calls, and stop seizure of your tax refund. Give yourself a break. Stop the stress and get your student loan payments down to as little as $25 a month based on what you can afford to pay. 800-709-4395. 800-709-4395. 800-709-4395. 800-709-4395.
I got the girl thing going on. It's a whirlwind of shoes and thongs. I'm overflowing with chiffon, and I dress myself to my favorite songs. I got the girl thing through and through. I want the diamond ring and pearls too. I need the whole shebang, something borrowed and blue. Till death do us part, and lots of I love yous. It's a girl thing, try to understand. It's not a me thing, no different than my friends. I get what I want, and I want it back. And it's a girl thing. Ooh, it's a girl thing. I got the girl thing down pat. Red wine is my drink. Imagine that, warm bubbles flowing in my bath. When I put my jeans on, I ask if I love that. It's a girl thing, try to understand. It's not a me thing, no different than my friends. I get what I want, and I want it back. And it's a girl thing. Ooh, it's a girl thing. I need a girl thing tonight. Gather the girlfriends for a really good time. Hit the dance floor till morning light. When tomorrow comes, we'll have something to hide. It's a girl thing, try to understand. It's not a me thing, no different than my friends. I get what I want, and I want it back. And it's a girl thing. Come on, girls, yeah, it's a girl it's not a me thing, no different than my friends. I get what I want, and I want it back, and it's a girl thing. Ooh, it's a girl thing. Friend, you make me smile, even if I only have you for a while. Extend your open heart. You trusted and you let me in from the start. Whoa, friend, danced your way into my life. From across the room I could see your eyes, stunning blue. You have this way of telling the truth, never sounding like you're singing the blues. It's a gift, friend. Friend, your heart's on fire. It's glowing all around me. You never seem to tire. The end, it's the farthest from my mind. I will focus on our dreams and the good times. Whoa, friend, danced your way into my life. From across the room I could see your eyes, stunning blue. You have this way of telling the truth, never sounding like you're singing the blues. It's a gift, friend. Stop the ticking clock. I don't want to miss our time to just sit and talk. Let's pretend you'll never go, and together we can still be here to help each other grow. Whoa, friend, danced your way into my life. From across the room I could see your eyes, stunning blue. You have this way of telling the truth, never sounding like you're singing the blues. It's a gift, friend. It's a gift, friend. Walk in my shoes, and take your time. Go on and feel my pain and enjoy the good time. No, I don't mind. I've had some good climbs, my share of downhills, some twirls on the dance floor, and some trips and some spills. It was all part of the thrill. Don't go wishing you were living someone else's dreams, 'cause you're missing living your own make-believes. So go on, walk in my shoes, just keep your own groove. Yeah, your own groove. Oh, I made mistakes, yes she has, and I've walked in the rain. I've loved and I've learned. It's all part of life's game. Every step made me who I am, made me who I am today. Don't go wishing you were living someone else's dreams, 'cause you're missing living your own make-believe. So go on, walk in my shoes, just keep your own groove. Yeah, your own groove. Oh, take it away, boys. Don't go wishing you were living someone else's dreams, 'cause you're missing living your own make-believe. So go on and on and on, walk in my shoes, just keep it your own groove. Oh, your own groove.
Hey, good morning, everybody. I'm Tiffany Carlen with Nona Reed here on JoCo Vibes on JoCo Community Radio. It's a beautiful Wednesday morning here. Even though it's still a little chilly, the sun is shining and it's going to be an absolutely stunning day.
Yes, it is. It's going to be beautiful. Like I had to
pause
think
there for
about
that.
what I wanted to wear.
Well, I actually had something completely different in mind and I pulled it out and it was wrinkled and I was like, I'm not going to
Do with that.
I don't want to do with that. I don't want to steam anything this morning. And did they move something?
Who knows what these
Like my headphones are trapped. Part of
the
station
tune in knob
muted.
was turned off, honey.
Yeah. Late night guys. So
Yes.
anyway, it's another day in Women's History Month.
Yes.
And we're going to talk about some cool stuff today. Talk about some we're going to start a new segment called Did You Know? And it's we're going to kind of focus on Johnson County at first
Mhm.
and just really talk about things that people didn't know or don't know about Johnson County, Texas.
That's
So,
cool. Some
yeah.
history, you mean?
Yeah, some history.
Some history.
I don't know how much is. I mean, there's quite a bit in there, but we're just going to kind of take one each day and just, say, hey, did you know? Did you know? And so I was looking for. I came across some cool information. I was looking for women in history for Johnson County, Texas, and there's really not a lot of information. And so I came across something on the Johnson County, Texas website that actually, I'm sorry, it was an old article from 2010 in the Cleveland Times Review, and it's kind of an interesting. It's an interesting article, but they really couldn't find anything about women in the history of women in Johnson County, and this was back in 2010. And so what they were talking about is, we know what the guys were doing on the weekends. There was a country club at that time in Cleburne, and so they just the guy who wrote the article actually puts in there, well, I guess the only way to do it is to assume what the women were doing during that time. And so here's what
he didn't put an ad out to get some.
Well, actually, that's kind of what the article was.
Oh, okay.
If you have history, if you have information and history
Please
on any
contact
woman,
and share.
Yeah. And I asked the same thing. If you've got that, on pertinent, or important women who did some cool things here in Johnson County, Texas, please reach out to us and let us know. You can go to our website and fill out the contact page. That would be great. So go to JoCoCommunityRadio.com and fill out the contact page if you've got something that's some cool history on women here in Johnson County, anywhere in Johnson County, Texas. So, so basically that's what he said. That's kind of the article. If you know anything, please let us know. But in the meantime, I guess we can just assume that they were knitting, sewing, cooking, teaching. It was very. I don't know. It was very gender biased.
I was about to say very gender biased.
But to be honest, in the history of our nation and really the world, it was very gender biased and discriminatory against women. So, I mean, we're, pretty much enslaved. We've talked about this before. And I always like to bring it up as people go, if you could pick any time in history to go back to, when would you go? Right. And I've heard some people say, well, the Titanic. Really?
You want to go down on the Titanic?
I think it's just the idea of the glamour and the period.
But you better make sure you're upper class.
You weren't on that boat. You
were at the bottom and you were sinking fast.
You were in a different ship.
Right.
And then there's people say the Elizabethan era, or post Civil War, pre Civil War. But man, there was so much going on during that time that there's just, as a woman, I just would not have wanted to live before the 70s, which makes sense because I was born in 73.
Yeah.
But women couldn't, you couldn't have your own credit card.
I know.
Without a man until the 1970s. At 1965, I think it was actually that you could be a single woman. So anyway, kind of want to dive in with our focus word of the week, because we focused on International Women's Day yesterday. We didn't get to our focus word of the week. So I want to give that to everybody. So
hello, Terrell.
Hey, Terrell, good morning. So the focus word of the week is advance. Solid food is for the mature, for those who have their powers of discernment trained by constant practice to distinguish good from evil. Hebrews 5:14. Focus tip. This week, ask God to help you release everything that is holding you back from advancing, learning, and growing in your faith. Focus on what it might look like to go deeper.
That kind of again aligns with what we were talking about yesterday about conforming. Right. Not conforming is what we don't want to do.
Absolutely. This is a really cool book. It's by Dayspring and it's called Focus. It's how one word a week will transform your life. And we started doing this, I don't know, a couple of months ago, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And so the next section in this one is taking inventory. So you go back and you go over, the 4 words that were just in this section, which were anticipate, authority, transformation, and advance. And it's just kind of cool how those 4 weeks really do come together.
Yes.
So it's Focus by Clear Cherry Reeves, and it is by Dayspring. So you can go to dayspring.com and you can order the Focus Word of the Week book if you want to, or you can just tune in here and do but there's more to it. There's more scripture. There's a whole section to read on that really kind of helps you dive into why that's the
and
word
it's
of the
not
week.
dated, which is always good because I got Jesse and I a dated like couples devotional thing. And I bought it last year, probably about October or something. I was like, oh, I'm going to start it in January. Yeah, we're behind. So then it makes you feel bad because you're like, I'm not where I need to be. But I know I could just pick up on that date and start from there.
Yeah.
I know.
So my Confident Woman Daily Devotional, which is by Dr. Joyce Meyer, I've had that for 8 years probably. And it is dated. So, but I just start over at the beginning of the year. So if I miss a few days, I let those go, and I focus on whatever it is for the day, because
that's probably
like,
smart.
Okay, all right, God, I hear you. Like that was your total message. That's what you meant to tell me. So I'm here. I'm listening to you.
Yes.
So all right. So I want to talk about a dangerous issue that
pretty much anything nowadays. I
know, right? But I just have to, because I was listening to the news this morning and they were talking about the controversial bill that they just passed in Florida. The say gay, or it's something like that. And it did pass. It did pass in
no
there.
say gay.
Say no to gay. Or don't say gay. Sorry, don't say gay is the name of the bill.
So we can't use the word gay anymore. Is what they're saying.
They don't want it. Is to stop elementary level school kids having their sexuality discussed with a teacher in the classroom.
Oh, okay.
And so I agree with that.
Yes,
because first of all, I don't believe that belongs in the classroom. I also don't believe that children, other than with their parents, should be discussing their sexuality.
I agree.
At that age, at that age level, to be clear, at that age level, because that's what this bill is about. My thing is I don't know why we need a law for something like that. To me, that should be as simple as common sense education. Also lacking. So we know that, right? But I mean, because this was the conversation Todd and I were having. We're like, why do you need a law for something
teachers
like
are
that?
frustrated too.
This is common sense.
Yes.
This is common sense. This wasn't discussed when we were kids.
Right.
We weren't talking about our sexuality or focusing on it or shoving it in our kids' faces or having it shoved in our faces when we were in elementary school.
Right.
Like you're not even there yet. You haven't hit puberty. Why are you having those conversations? And they don't belong. That's not where it belongs.
If a child feels that strongly at that age, that child should be communicating with his parents. I do know of a couple that had to deal with that about 5 or 6 years ago. And they dealt with it very privately for a very, very long time.
And I'm not saying
and that is up to them. It's not the school.
Right.
The school shouldn't, and I know they would agree with me if they were listening.
Yeah. And
it wouldn't have been, it's not the school's job to do that.
And I'm not saying that it has to be a private thing or don't talk about it. It doesn't belong being a part of our educational system or a part of a curriculum.
How about our basic knowledge? What we used to learn.
We don't get right. You don't get sex ed until, I mean, so when I was in Christian school, in elementary school, we had one maybe 2 years of it, and that was they split the boys off and they split the girls off, and they talked about not the birds and the bees, but
They talked about their cycle.
your human sexuality. So
Yeah.
your cycle, what's going to
Mhm.
happen right before you're about
Right.
to get your period, that type of thing.
Because
I mean,
unfortunately,
I said
we do
period.
have 4th and 5th graders because of what they are putting in our food. That's why people
who are developing early.
our kids are developing earlier because of what is being put in our food. And so now we are having to talk to students at a younger age, but it needs to be, yes, about, you know.
But I was in third. I was in.
You
I
don't
was in.
have to talk about sex.
I was in 3rd grade. I'm pretty sure it was 3rd grade when that class
Mhm.
that class happened
Right.
about puberty and the cycle, and
Mhm.
you learned all about the body, and then of course it made you
Gosh,
think.
I kept thinking mine was 5th, but
But it talked about eggs, and it didn't really. It might have been 5th grade. To be honest, I'm trying to look back.
yeah, I know that's kind of a long time for us.
Maybe 4th or 5th grade. Okay, maybe 4th or 5th grade. I seriously can't remember.
Well, we did go to different. Each state is a little different too.
Yeah, and I mean it was New Jersey,
So-
so but I don't think that would have been much different. I mean, puberty, the average time of puberty and starting your menstrual cycle for most girls was the same. I
Mhm.
mean, and it's about the same now too, but again, that depends on diet.
Right.
Diet, exercise,
Right.
even mental health greatly affects it too.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think we had as much of that issue
Right.
when we were kids because we weren't getting as much processed food or
Correct.
even if you look at the menus in our school system, and they're not healthy choices. Nachos is not a part of the food group. I'm so sorry.
Right.
And should not be served as a lunch option. Period. It's just my personal opinion.
I want the rectangle pizzas back. Sorry,
I don't
they
know.
aren't healthy.
My kids never liked the pizza in any of the schools.
No, because the pizzas were made different than the
just-
rectangle pizza we had.
They're just frozen. They were just frozen pizzas. I do remember. I know what you're talking about because I did like the
Those were
rectangle
the best,
pizza.
but they are not healthy either.
Hey, listen, I was eating bologna and mayonnaise on white bread, okay, in a paper sack. You didn't get an ice pack even. Oh yeah, and then bought
bologna mustard with Lay's potato chips and white bread.
Yeah, we didn't get that. We didn't.
My
yeah.
mom spoiled me. I got Lay's potato chips.
We didn't have we didn't have potato chips and soda in the house unless it was left over from a family birthday party or
I didn't have soda.
Yeah,
which is crazy because I love my Dr. Pepper.
No, we didn't.
But my mom, yes, she did not raise me on soda.
Yeah, and when we
or
did,
my sister.
I mean, we would. So like when you're one of 7 kids, I mean, your family's living on a budget.
Mm-hmm.
And because none of us were born with a silver spoon in our mouth, my parents weren't either. So my dad's one of 7 kids and raised by a single mom. Because my dad, he lost his father when my dad was 12 years old. His dad was killed in a car accident by a young drunk driver, and he was decapitated.
Oh wow!
Yeah. So you talk about the history of people's, lives. When you, I don't know why we're getting into this or where I'm going, but
yeah.
When you're looking at people and you see where they are, you have this idea that they came directly from that.
Yes.
That's not the case.
Nope.
But all right, we're going to take a quick break.
Maybe we won't scroll next time when we come back from the break.
Maybe we will. I don't know.
I don't know.
We'll be right back after this message.
Abnormal realities.
I love my mom.
Yep. She sent me a message.
My mom did?
Yeah, Wednesday night. And she invited me over tomorrow night to watch Titanic and share a bowl of popcorn. And I accepted.
You did?
Yep.
That'd be fun.
And she calls it Chaps Only Night. Every Saturday night.
Look.
Miss Dixie,
Look,
how you doing? He said, it's my mom, bro. All right, it's my mom.
I want to hear the answer to the Titanic and popcorn. Go ahead, Mom. What's up?
Oh!
Hi, boys.
Hi,
I just
Mom.
wanted to ask Rocky if he wanted butter on that popcorn or not.
I would
my
rather
God.
have the butter somewhere else, but if popcorn's the only place I can have it, I'll take it.
Jeez,
Hey,
dude.
nobody says I can't roll around in it for a little bit.
All right, Mom.
That is my
Love
girl.
you.
I love you,
Mom.
Dixie.
Abnormal realities
My mom. Love you.
Dixie.
Bye. I love you too.
with Ron and Rocky. Weekdays, 4 p.m. and 10 p.m. on JoCo Community Radio.
Holy crap.
Out-of-date carpet giving you the blues? Tired of your old dingy and broken tile? Let my friends at the Floor Store in Cleveland, Texas give your home the makeover it deserves. This is Old Taco Joe coming to you for the Floor Store. Whether it's carpet, tile, wood flooring, or real wood laminate, the Floor Store can cover all of your flooring needs. Located at 405 West Henderson Street in Cleveland, Texas, owner Brent Harris can help. Shower tile, tub surrounds, even backsplashes. Give them a call today at 817-641-9444. The Floor Store, they got you covered. When you're hungry for tender brisket or some delicious homemade cobbler, then look no further than Leach Brothers Barbecue, located at 1106 East Henderson in Cleveland, Texas. Leach Brothers has been family-owned and operated since 1950. Take it from me, Taco Joe Orwinski. Todd and his family have been filling my belly breakfast, lunch, and dinner for a long time. Heck, I even have my own booth, open Monday through Saturday, 6 a.m. to 7 p.m. Come see them for dine-in, carry-out, and all your catering needs.
I do love the beginning of that song.
I
I mean, I
do.
like the whole song, but I'm a little biased on that because it's mine. So if you're listening, that is Nobody by Tiffany Carlen. And you can go to tiffanycarlen.com and get a copy, or you can listen on Spotify. So, and I am Tiffany Carlen with Nona Reed here on JoCo Vibes on JoCo Community Radio. Thank you guys for joining us for the first, maybe second half of JoCo Vibes. And man, I'm a little behind on what I'm doing this morning. I'm gonna read you a commercial here if I can open it up.
Oh,
It's okay. I'm there. JoCo Community Radio is proud to be the voice of Johnson County, Texas, and is live 365 on the TuneIn Radio Network. To listen on the radio, go to TuneIn JoCo. That's JoCo, and download the free app. When you get to that page, by the way, it's I think I've loaded it. You can download the TuneIn Radio app, where we are live 365, or you can now download the JoCo Community Radio app for Android. It is free, and the iOS version is launching soon. So we're super excited about being able to offer our very own app. We are streaming live simultaneously as well at youtube.com, as well as linkedin.com and Twitter. Just search for JoCo Community Radio on Twitter. You want to look for JoCo TX Radio. All of our shows can also be found on any one of your favorite podcast platforms as reruns, such as reruns or replays. They're set to that. They turn to that so that you can listen. You can listen later.
Right.
You're not only submitted to watching replays. I was trying to figure out how I was going to say that. Check out so you can go to Spotify, iTunes, Amazon, Spreaker, any one of your other favorite podcast platforms that you like. Also iHeart. We're also on iHeart as well. Check out our lineup and more on JoCoCommunityRadio.com. Thanks for tuning in. This episode and more brought to you by Patriot Claims, making your insurance work for you. Hail happens. That's hail happens. Storms happen. And 99% of the time, your insurance company does not want to pay the full amount of your claim. You've got to have someone ready to advocate for you with your own insurance company. That's right. Reach out to local Texas Representative Nona Reed before the next storm hits. Call toll-free 844-TEX-HAIL, 844-TEX-HAIL. That's HAIL, as in ice balls that hit your car or house. So anyway, welcome back. It's Women's History Month. We kicked it off yesterday on the actual International Women's Day with Tamara Payne and talking about the history of it and what the focus of International Women's Day is this year, which is saying no to gender bias. If I can find it, I am losing my brain this morning. So we're going to talk today about some of the women in history who have done amazing things to get us where we are today. So we're going to start off with Meet the Suffragists. In their fight for women's right to vote, suffragists faced decades of derision, imprisonment, and abuse. Their resilience and determination changed the course of history and inspired later generations of activists. Here we present some of the women who persisted and have endured. And this information is from the Britannica.com website. So we're going to start out with Susan B. Anthony. Man, I don't even know how much they're even studying this stuff. I think they're getting through some of this in elementary school still, but I can't remember now because all my kids are out of elementary, and it's amazing how much stuff you forget. But Susan B. Anthony in full, Susan Brownell Anthony. She was born February 15th in 1820. Adams in Adams, Massachusetts. She died March 13th, 1906 in Rochester, New York. She was an American activist who was a pioneer crusader for the women's suffrage movement in the United States and president 1892-1900 of the National Women's Suffrage Association. Her work helped pave the way for the 19th Amendment, which happened in 1920, to the Constitution, giving women the right to vote. In her early life, Anthony was reared in the Quaker tradition in a home pervaded by a tone of independence and moral zeal. She was a precocious child and learned to read and write at the age of 3. That's unbelievable.
Right.
Seriously. That just tells you how brilliant she was. After the family moved from Massachusetts to Battinsville, New York in 1826, she attended a district school, then a school set up by her father, and finally a boarding school near Philadelphia. In 1839, she took a position in the Quaker Seminary in New Rochelle, New York. From 1846 to 1849, she taught at a female academy in upstate New York. I know that there's more that we've actually read on her before that talks about her education into becoming a female, teaching in a female academy in upstate New York, because that was a battle in itself, from what I recall. So the abolition, temperance, and women's suffrage. Anthony subsequently settled in her family home, now near Rochester, New York. There she met many leading abolitionists, including Frederick Douglass, Parker Pillsbury, Wendell Phillips, William Henry Channing, and William Lloyd Garrison. Notice that those are all men, by the way. Soon the temperance movement enlisted her sympathy, and then after meeting Amelia Bloomer and through her Elizabeth Cady Stanton, so did that of the woman's suffrage. So I just find that interesting that when she first got connected with abolitionists, they were all men.
Right.
And I just think that's really, really interesting. But then she meets these other 2 women and starts to move towards that of women's suffrage. The rebuff of Anthony's attempt to speak at a temperance meeting in Albany in 1852 prompted her to organize the Women's New York State Temperance Society, of which Stanton became president, and pushed Anthony farther in the direction of women's rights advocacy. In a short time, she became known as one of the cause's most zealous, serious advocates and dogged and tireless worker whose personality contrasted sharply with that of her friend and co-worker Stanton. She was also a prime target of public and newspaper abuse. While campaigning for a liberalization of New York's laws regarding married women's property rights. Huge, people. Huge. Let me say that again. Regarding New York's laws regarding married women's property rights. An end attained in 1860, Anthony served from 1856 as chief New York agent of Garrison's American Anti-Slavery Society. During the early phase of the Civil War, she helped organize the Women's National Loyal League, which urged the case of emancipation. After the war, she campaigned unsuccessfully to have the language of the 14th Amendment altered to allow for women as well as African American suffrage. And in 1866, she became corresponding secretary of the newly formed American Equal Rights Association. Her exhausting speaking and organizing tour of Kansas in 1867 failed to win passage of a state enfranchisement law. I'm having troubles reading today. Figure out how this works. So, she was fined but refused to pay for voting in the U.S. presidential election of 1872. $100. She was fined $100,
which was a lot of money back then.
right? She's quoted to say, "Men's rights are nothing more. Women's rights are nothing less."
Mm-hmm.
So this again goes back to what we were talking about before we went to the break. I mean, we squirreled into bologna sandwiches and stuff,
okay.
but we're talking about this before we went to the break. Is going back into history, and I would not want to go back to any period that stripped me of my rights as a woman.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Oh,
I mean, really think about that.
No,
I'm talking pre 1965.
I know. Yeah.
Pre 1965. Like when people look at prostitution and in judgment, right?
Right.
Of
that kind of entertainment, yes.
They're disgusting. Well, they're looking at it as an entertainment.
Right.
But when you look back at the history of prostitution,
oh yeah,
that is how women were treated.
Mm-hmm.
They were treated by men as prostitutes. They treated their own wives that way.
Mm-hmm.
Todd and I just watched we watched a film based on a true story from I'm not even be able to think of the name of it right now. But it was all about it was about a legal case where a woman was raped by another man when her husband went off to war, and it was during I can see them nights. What's that error? I'm like seriously.
The nights
during that
like
that
the
time
medieval
period. Medieval times. Thank you. Gosh, I'm serious. My brain's not functioning well. And it's all based on a true story. Matt Damon is the lead, and he wrote it with his best buddy, who's also in the movie. Couldn't tell you, J-Lo's boyfriend. I'm telling you, I need hormones or something. I like totally need somebody to come open up my brain and like pull all the words out for me. So anyway, so in this case, so she gets raped. Well, during that time, men were killed for that if found guilty. So check this out. During medieval times, it was said by priests, right? Again, men leading the way on dictating this, that you could not a woman could not conceive a child without reaching sexual pleasure.
Oh, good grief.
So think about that. And they literally say this in the movie, and it's all from history books.
So it wasn't rape because she conceived a child.
Correct. That's exactly it. So if she were
it's all her fault.
She did conceive a child, but what they say, because I had to go start reading on it while we were watching the movie. And so Todd's like, well, tell me who wins it's called The Last Duel. That's it.
Oh,
it's called The Last Duel. And it's not because it's the last duel of history.
Right.
It's their last duel. And so they end up going in front of the magistrate. And he says, screw you. This is dismissed. She's a liar. Right. But he was friends with the rapist.
Right.
And I don't want to give away the whole story because it really is a very fascinating movie to watch. It's very well done. Very, very well done. But there's some pieces of the history that are missing because women didn't have a voice then.
Mm-hmm.
Now she did get to write her own affidavit. And so, I don't want to tell too much because it's newly out. Because there's other stuff that Todd actually he dug in deeper after.
Oh wow!
Yeah, we were very intrigued by the whole.
I hadn't heard of
the whole situation. It's new. It's new. It's out on. I think we were watching it on Stars, maybe.
Okay.
So,
is it just a movie, or is it going to be like
it's a movie,
a little series? Okay.
No. It's a movie, and it's based on this true story. It's called The Last Duel. And if you Google it, it'll come up, and you'll actually read some of the story. But don't go too deep into it because you'll know the end of the movie, and you really don't want to do it. I almost gave away something that would have told you who won the duel, but anyway, she couldn't bring charges on her rapist. Only the husband. See, she wasn't.
And he's got to be convinced that she was raped,
right? Because if you lose, then you could both be put to death.
Oh wow!
Yes. And so they end up getting what he ends up asking for is, well, I want a death by trial by duel, is what the husband asked for. So if the husband lost the duel, if he died, then God has deemed her a liar, right? God becomes the jury. God becomes your jurist. And so whoever died in the duel, God, the jurist, deemed to be the liar and at fault. Okay.
Ooh.
So if the husband died, they would then, well, they threatened that they would kill her. But what history shows is that most of the time, if a woman was not able to prove the man raped her, like if she lost, they would strip her of all of her money, her title, everything, which is pretty much close to death anyway, is what they said during that time. So anyway, it just kind of correlates. I mean, all like going back into history, like, no, I mean, it looks so like such a lovely idea you want to be in the big dresses and the flowing and no,
those beautiful dresses. But think about everything that's under it and how they cannot. Oh my gosh.
This was in France, by the way. No, actually they weren't in France, but they were in France. Not directly in Paris. They were outside of it. And then he went off and went to war. So, and they lived somewhere around Normandy, if I remember correctly. So it's a really interesting story, but it just correlates so well with it being Women's History Month.
Yeah.
To look at just another thing that women had to go through, and that you couldn't bring charges against someone. It had to be your spouse, because he was the one who was actually wronged.
Yeah, came out
by another man who had sex with his wife. Yeah. So if you've seen The Last Duel and you want to chime in, feel free.
Ben Affleck.
Thank you.
Sorry.
I was trying to think of
Squirrel.
Benaflow. I couldn't, whatever they were called.
Yeah.
I couldn't think of it.
But
So
are they together anymore?
Yeah, they're dating.
I know that's squirreling again.
Yep. In 1868, Anthony became publisher and Stanton editor of a new periodical, The Revolution, originally financed by the eccentric George Francis Train. The same year, she represented the Working Women's Association of New York, which she had recently organized at the National Labor Union Convention. In January 1869, she organized a women's suffrage convention in D.C., and in May, she and Stanton formed the National Women's Suffrage Association. So that wasn't until 1869. A portion of the organization deserted later in the year to join Lucy Stone's more conservative American Women's Suffrage Association, but the NWSA remained a large and powerful group, and Anthony continued to serve as its principal leader and spokeswoman. So that's really interesting to look back at that too, to know that there was a split even then, that there was a more conservative group of women that were fighting for rights for women to vote, along with the suffrage movement, although they were both part of the suffrage movement, but there was a more liberal and a more conservative split back then.
Yeah.
Even amongst just women.
Right.
In 1870, she relinquished her position as the Revolution and at the Revolution, the periodical, and embarked on a series of lecture tours to pay off the paper's accumulated debts. As a test of the legality of the suffrage provision of the 14th Amendment, she cast a vote in the 1872 presidential election, which was then illegal for a woman to do that. She was arrested, convicted, and the judge's directed verdict of guilty had been written before the trial began. And she called the proceedings the greatest judicial outrage history has ever recorded. I'm going to agree with that.
Yes.
And she was fined, and although she refused to pay the fine, the case was carried no farther. She was fined $100 and she refused to pay it. So it doesn't look like they ever went after her. She traveled constantly, often with Stanton, in support of efforts in various states to win the franchise for women. California in 1871, Michigan in 1874, Colorado in 1877, and elsewhere. In 1890, after lengthy discussions, the rival suffrage associations were merged into the National American Women's Suffrage Association. And after Stanton resigned in 1892, Anthony became president. Her principal lieutenant in later years was Carrie Chapman Catt. And so we'll dive into a little deeper. I don't want to read this whole thing, but in Susan B. Anthony's last speech, she said failure is impossible. And she was right. And they kept going. I mean, this is why when we talk about voting, whether it's in midterms,
Right.
local elections, the national election, women died for you to vote today.
Right.
So, and Todd and I actually, we were having a conversation with another attorney yesterday in Fort Worth, and we were talking about the numbers of voter turnout. I think what was it, 2,500 in Johnson?
I don't know the one in Johnson County, but it was like less than 17% in Tarrant.
Oh,
that was so sad.
That's what he was talking about. He was like he goes, you guys had more voters in your small local election versus who just voted in Tarrant County.
Right.
That is so sad.
Yes.
And your local elections is where you have the biggest voice, where you can make the greatest change. I mean, please always vote in your national election, but your local elections are most important. That's what impacts you so directly. And that goes for school board stuff too. And you've got to pay attention to what's going on. We'll talk more about that another day.
Yes, we will.
For sure. So anyway, there was so much more about her. So Susan B. Anthony, and just, they actually opened a birthplace museum in Adams, Massachusetts in 2010. And that's where Susan B. Anthony was born. If you weren't watching the beginning of the show, you can always go back and listen to the beginning. On the occasion of the 190th anniversary of Anthony's birth, it stirred controversy when the owner of the property and president of the museum led with an exhibit presenting Anthony as an anti-abortion feminist in 21st century terms. Further controversy followed in 2020 when U.S. President Donald Trump pardoned Anthony for her 1872 conviction. The move was criticized by historians and others who'd argued that Anthony did not believe she had committed a crime and that the pardon validated the trial. Oh, that is interesting.
Yep.
That's interesting. I'm going to do some more research on actually that part of it, because I don't know why he decided to do that all of a sudden. But I'll have to look into that. So that's very interesting.
Yes.
I'm going it's political.
I know.
I mean, come on.
Well,
It's
political. Think about how we're really fighting for our constitutional rights right now, and I just feel like it had to do with part of that. I mean, we are all fighting harder than we ever have for our constitutional rights.
Sure, absolutely.
Everywhere.
Yeah. and on all sides of the political spectrum. It
Right.
doesn't matter
100%.
Doesn't matter if you're left, right,
correct,
conservative. I'm going conservative, but I'm doing it the wrong way. Whatever, conservative or liberal, it doesn't matter.
Right.
We all follow the same constitution, and that's, thank God we have lawyers, by the way.
Yes.
Who actually go to school and study this stuff. It's super, super important. And when you're looking at people who you vote for to go into the political realm, I prefer to have if someone's running and they have gone to law school and they've passed the bar and they have their law license, their jurisprudence, that's going to typically be my pick, because they have that legal education.
Right.
It's different if you're an adjunct professor and you're teaching constitutional law. It's completely different than actually fully studying constitutional law as a lawyer, and which Obama is a constitutional lawyer. That's what he was before he became president. And he knew the Constitution. He knows the Constitution very well. But there's a difference when you're talking about the actual law, and then how do you go beyond that? That's the only thing I want to say about that. But we got 3 minutes left. I want to tell you about.
Excuse me.
I want to give you. I want to give you the history of at least one person, one woman out of New Jersey. We're going to do this every day, and that's my home state. That's where I was born and raised.
Did you know?
I'm going to do that here in a minute.
Okay.
I'm going to do this. Countless New Jersey women were and still are active in public life in myriad ways. Business, athletics, the arts, and medicine are only a handful of the areas in which New Jersey women contribute to their home state and the larger world. For brief biographies of some of these remarkable women, we're going to browse through it one each day. So I'm just going to randomly pick one, and I'm trying to give you some names that you haven't heard before. Elizabeth Elmira Allen. And Elizabeth Elmira Allen, 1854 to 1919, was a teacher's right advocate. Was a teacher's right advocate and the first female president of the New Jersey Education Association. Allen began her 48-year-long teaching career in the Hoboken School District as the principal of the Hoboken, awesome area of New Jersey, by the way, if you've never been there. Hoboken School District as principal of the elementary school. She then held the same role at Hoboken High School. Later in her career, Allen held the position of supervisor of the education of teachers at the Hoboken Normal and Training School. At age 28, Allen became the vice president of the New Jersey Teachers Association. In this role, she gained recognition as an advocate for the Teachers Retirement Fund and issues related to the teacher tenure. Allen was often thrust into the public eye and attracted a great deal of controversy because of her persistent and outspoken views. You go, girl. Hey,
I can relate to her.
You do not make change
by being quiet.
By being quiet. If you don't want critics, then don't say anything, don't be anything, and don't do anything. So that's, you just got to suck it up, buttercup,
right,
if you want to get things done. So I'll tell you a little bit more about her, because we're going to go into to the next hour. We're going to come back and start the business connections. We've got some wonderful women who are going to join us, who are all in business together doing amazing things. And so we're going to feature them. But before we go, did you know the first Johnson County Courthouse was a 16-foot by 16-foot log cabin located in Wardville, which is now under Lake Pat Cleburne.
Oh, wow.
The cabin was also used as the community's church, but as liquor was accepted as payment of fines, go figure,
right?
Johnson County's Bar of Justice may have served as a bar of another kind. So I guess that was a time period where you could bring liquor into the church, so you could pay your debt. How crazy is that? So isn't that kind of cool?
That is.
So
cool.
We're going to do a did you know before we go at the end of every show.
It's really cool.
Yeah, it's cool. So interesting information. So be sure to join us back here. By the way, guys, March 11th. Today's March 9th.
Yes.
March 11th, which is Friday. Is that tomorrow?
Nope.
No,
it's
today's
Friday.
Wednesday. Oh my gosh. Food Truck Friday. Check out a variety of food trucks at a local park, activities for the entire family, bounce house and DJ keep good going, 6 to 8 p.m. Veterans Memorial Plaza here in Burleson, 298 East Renfro. Come back here and join us here in just a few minutes for Business Connections. Be blessed. Have a great day.
From Burleson to Venus and Grandview to Godley, this is the voice of Johnson County, JoCo Community Radio.